Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world.
A Time magazine had a cover, and this is a pretty outdated one, and on we were amazed to see yoga on the front of a Western magazine. Yoga is a Eastern practice. Now, they ask the question, not what's so bad about yoga? Isn't it just stretching? It helps me to release my stress, to get flexible. Now, yoga is practiced all across this world. Now, in America, the kind of yoga that is practiced is called Hatha yoga, where it only focuses on the stretches. That is what's practiced here in America. Now, what is yoga? Yoga comes from the word Sanskrit, and it's generally translated means a union, or to what? Yoke. So when you practice yoga, you are yoking. You are unionizing yourself with something. The absolute God of Hinduism. So that's the whole purpose of yoga. Whether it's Western or Eastern, you are yoking yourself with the chief God of Hinduism, which is Brahma. Now Brahma is Vishnu. It's the same God, which leads you right back to the Tower of Babel, brothers and sisters. Let's connect the dots this morning. Now, lest you think that yoga is just some little plaything. This is actually a journal, yoga journal, where folks subscribe to it by email. And the journal released, Yoga in America, says this. The latest yoga in America studies just released by Yoga Journal shows that 20.4 million. Now I'm going to tell you something. If you're practicing yoga by default, you're on the train. Now when she said the whole world was on the train, now you can see, brothers and sisters. You've got to get off this train, because yoga is going to lead you to hell. You are yoking yourself up with Satan. And no one who's knowingly practicing yoga will enter heaven. You can quote me on that one. Let it sink in your cerebral this morning. It's about heaven or hell, brothers and sisters. It's not my opinion. Look what happened now. Compared to 15.8 million, it has jumped 29%. And not to mention the monetary basis. Practitioners spend $10.3 billion a year in yoga classes and yogaism and yoga products, yoga cup, yoga scarf. And you can't use yoga without the yoga pants. You know, when I was in college, the FIU, you know, I played soccer for them, and, you know, off season, we had to work out. And I had to do summer classes, and I needed an extra class to boost my GPA, get it on a 2.5-ish, you know. that's all I wanted, you know what I'm saying? You know how it is, athletes, we're not really into that kind of stuff, you know. But anyway, so a friend of mine, his name was Nuki. He played, he says, Knott, listen, man, won't you come take this class with me? It's called yoga. Now, I never heard about yoga. The only thing yoga I know was Yogi Bear. That's the first I went about no yoga. Literally. So he said to me, they got some pretty girls in that class. And that's why I went, brother. So you know that those days I was in the world. So we signed up for the class. It was I think it was a two credit class. You know what I'm saying? We paid about 6 something. You know what I'm saying, for the class. Went there, now I had to get the yoga pants. I'm walking around these little spandex. When I got in the class, it was pure men in that class, that quarter. It seemed that all the men had heard all the girls were going to take the class. And they signed up. Now, there were 2 sessions, A and B. The girls would come in the B session. So it was about 35 men in the class in yoga spandex. No, I'm telling you. And the professor, he wasn't manly. He was fairish. So the class started. I said, okay, I can handle this. Ain't no homophobic about me. I can work with this thing. I'm saying, and I'm not lying to you. No, brother, I grew up an Adventist. So there are certain things I was entrenched in me. Now, even when I was in the world, you could not convince me that Sunday was the Sabbath. Go talk to the tree. And even when I was in the world, I would never attend another church. I would just hang out in the world because I knew my roots. And I decided if I'm going back to any church, it's going to be the Adventist church. So I'm in the yoga class. I'm not lying to you. And where the guy is giving us the history of it, and it seemed kosher. And then he said, now we're going to do the deep breathing. And we started deep breathing. We're going to do a posture to the sun now. Now when I heard that, let me tell you something. I dropped that class. I took Taekwondo, which is just as bad anyway. I literally got out of the class when I heard sun poses. Spirit rang a bell. I left them in there. Does yoga have a hidden agenda? Yes. It is the plan of yoga. And even the Hindus who brought yoga over here, their plan was to Christianize or de-Christianize Christianity with yoga. And that is why Ellen White says spiritualism is now changing its form. It is now what? Veiling some of its what? More objectionable features. But she said it is more dangerous. So what they have done with yoga now, they have changed certain words. For instance, the pranayama, right, is called deep breathing. This means that you now get on the same breathing pattern with the cosmos. But they just call it deep breathing. So you hear deep breathing, well, it must be deep breathing. So they have used changed the words a little bit. So you in the West, you who are a Christian, you don't know what you're getting used to your breathing. And then they don't talk about the 7 chakras. They call it 7 energy centers. I'm going to show you what the chakra. It is supposed to now release what is called kundalini. But they don't use kundalini because it sounds scary. They just say the 7 energy centers. It sounds nice. Now, what is kundalini? Now, Mr. Carlton, you got my sound in the back? I'm going to show you a clip on what kundalini really is.
His brand of yoga, called dynamic meditation, is a new age combination of Hinduism and psychotherapies. This exercise, involving rigorous breathing and hyperventilation, is designed to arouse the serpent force called Kundalini, which the gurus believe lies coiled at the base of the spine.
I did dynamic meditation every day. We also called it Kundalini meditation. It starts off with a cathartic breathing, and the reason for it is just to move your energy and to get you out of your head and into your body, and you just breathe. Threw a tantrum when you were a little kid.
And that's when the Kundalini is now released. Now, if you saw this, you say, I'm not going in that building. but they don't do that in the West. They veil the objectionable part of it. So then the question, let me turn these lights back on because I need to let there be light. This is the question now. This is the question I get from most young people is this. Right? Many now have tried to separate yoga from Hinduism. So we say, I'm not practicing Hinduism. I'm a born again Christian. I don't support Hinduism, but I only do yoga. Or this way now, can a person reject the spiritual aspect of yoga but still practice the exercise? You know, when I think of this, there's a story in the Bible about Saul. Samuel had told Saul to go and smite the Amalekites and destroy everything they have in 1 Samuel 15, 2 and 3. But what Saul did now, Saul spared Agag. In other words, Saul says, I'm not going to practice Hinduism. I will just do the stretches. It's like this crazy music, the gospel rap. And folks say, you know, I don't listen to the beats. I reject the beats. But I just focus on the words. Light and darkness cannot harmonize, brothers and sisters. What Bible are you reading? Doesn't Jesus says, can two walk together and except they be agreed? And when Samuel came, he says to Saul, what is that I hear? The breathing of the sheep. He says, behold, to obey is better than sacrifice. He says, for rebellion is as witchcraft and stubbornness as idolatry. So can a person reject the spiritual aspects of yoga and still do the exercise? No. Here it is. God of the New Age. Jeremiah 5 says this. There can be no Hinduism without yoga. And there can be no yoga without Hinduism. And what most folks who practice yoga don't realize, even the hatha that they do over here, hatha has two words, hath sun, tha moon. Therefore, each stretch you do is a salutation to the sun and the moon and the stars, Semiramis, Nimrod, and Tammuz. All these are poses that you're venerating the sun. There it is, brothers and sisters. It's up to the sun. There they are. Look at this. All this is sun worship. Now you'll notice there are 12 salutations. That ought to ring a bell. Because it brings us back to the 12 signs of the zodiac. This thing is steeped in astrology. And for this is an incriminating piece of evidence. And for a Seventh-day Adventist, Christian, to practice yoga in the light of this, God is not going to wink anymore. And if you're in yoga, you need to cancel that class ASAP. You said, "No, what? Well, I need to work out, man. Go walk at the park, grow a garden, do something else to lose weight, but get out of yoga, because you're yoking yourself to the devil."
Are we teaching the truth in love, telling it like it is? Are we holding pure motives, showing that we care? Are we teaching the truth?